Welcome to the DX Today Deep Dive, where you get facts, not hype. Today, we are strapping in for a deep dive into what our sources, specifically the latest comprehensive research from DX Today, describe as, well, the biggest structural shift in retail since we moved commerce onto our phones a decade and a half ago.
It really is. I mean, this isn't just a marginal improvement or a faster load time.
No, not at all. We are talking about the emergence of truly autonomous software that doesn't just suggest a purchase, it executes it, manages it, and optimizes it entirely on your behalf.
It's a fundamental change. This is the moment we transition from interacting with a static e-commerce page to literally handing over our digital wallet to a sophisticated, goal-oriented algorithm.
Or digital buyer.
Exactly. And that's the critical transition from what the industry spent 2 years hyping up generative AI to what the industry is about to spend the next 5 years actually implementing. Agentic AI. So our mission today is to really dissect this transformation. We're going to unpack the technical backbone. We'll chart the rise of these action bots into what the sources are calling machine customers or even custobots.
Custobots. I like that.
And we'll analyze what this really means for the entire global economy. I mean, when Agentic AI is projected to influence $2.1 trillion in global e-commerce spending, this is a structural re-architecture.
It changes everything. I mean, literally everything. It changes how manufacturers design products, how companies advertise, or, if they even advertise at all. And fundamentally, it changes the role of the consumer.
It does.
So our goal in this deep dive is to provide you, the listener, with the technical clarity and the strategic foresight you need to navigate this structural inversion of e-commerce. We want to make sure you understand the architecture, the key players like OpenAI and Amazon, and the massive opportunities and risks involved.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Let's unpack the fundamental definition, because this concept of agentic AI is, I think, often confused with its predecessor, generative AI. It is, and the sources are extremely precise in their chronological definition. Generative AI was the content creation era. That was roughly 2022 to 2024. Agentic AI is the autonomous action era, and that's what's defining 2025 and 2026.
So it's a complete inversion of the 2 decades of digital commerce that came before.
A total inversion. And the difference is defined by capability, not just by speed or scale. I mean, generative AI, for all its revolutionary potential, was inherently passive when it came to commerce.
Right, it could write things?
It could write things incredibly well. It could synthesize enormous amounts of data. It could, as we've discussed before, describe the perfect set of noise-canceling headphones. It could write a detailed product review, compare specs from 5 different websites, and even draft an incredibly compelling email asking a retailer about their warranty policy.
But that's where it stopped.
That's exactly where the process stopped. Its function was to produce content, text, or images, or to suggest insights. It lacked the hands to execute.
And the agentic AI, the action bot, is defined by having those hands.
Precisely. The agentic AI doesn't just describe the best headphones, it takes that insight and turns it into a completed transaction. It plans the multi-step purchase workflow, it logs into the retailer's secure API or browses the website directly.
Wow.
It finds an optimized combination of discounts and coupon codes, executes the financial transaction autonomously, handles the order tracking, and, this is the critical part, it can manage the complex logistics of the return or a substitution if the product fails to meet the user's satisfaction threshold when it arrives.
So it's moving the entire process from just suggesting a path to solving the actual problem end to end.
That's the perfect way to put it. That distinction between suggesting and solving is where this massive economic opportunity lies, because it attacks the single biggest bottleneck in 2 decades of e-commerce.
The human in the loop.
The human in the loop. For 20 years, we've operated under what the research calls the pull-based model, where you, the consumer, had to do all the heavy lifting.
And we just got used to it. We've normalized that human in the loop friction. But when you step back and look at it objectively, it was a profound inefficiency.
Absolutely. Think about what we as consumers had to endure. The manual, often mind-numbing product research, the tedious, repetitive comparison shopping across, 10, 15 open browser tabs just to make sure we weren't missing a better deal.
I think every listener just mentally tallied the hours they wasted comparison shopping for a new appliance or a flight last year. It's painful to think about that human-in-the-loop friction is a fantastic, relatable phrase for what we all collectively endured.
It is. And then there's the time-consuming checkouts with repetitive form filling and authentication. And at the end of the day, our decision optimization was severely limited by our own human attention span and just the sheer amount of time we were willing to dedicate to a single purchase.
We were navigating catalogs and interfaces that were optimized for our fallible, easily distracted human eyeballs.
And that inefficiency created these massive market gaps. Now, these new goal-oriented architectures mean the friction between a desire, I need a new energy-efficient dishwasher, and its fulfillment approaches zero.
The agent does the work.
The agent does all of it. It
Ah.
handles autonomous discovery across platforms. It intelligently negotiates the price based on real-time data. It ensures seamless transaction execution. And, maybe most powerfully, it offers continuous optimization learning based on your persistent user preferences. The user defines the goal, and the agent delivers the outcome.
Okay, so we need to be really clear on what gives an AI agent this capacity for action. We need to distinguish it from just a very fast, a very large language model, an LLM.
Right.
We know LLMs are, at their core, sophisticated probabilistic text predictors. What is the fundamental difference in the architecture that makes an agent an agent?
The fundamental difference is that the architecture is designed for agency. It's the intentional design to act sequentially and to follow through on a complex, multi-step goal by engaging with the external digital world using tools and APIs.
So it's not just thinking, it's doing.
Exactly. An LLM might be the brain that thinks of the steps, but an agent incorporates the nervous system, the memory, and the motor function to actually execute those steps. We are moving from a system that's focused on generating the most probable text output of conversation to one designed explicitly for execution and delivery, for an action.
Which means we are fundamentally moving from a web of information, which is what traditional search engines and e-commerce platforms were built on, to a web of action, where the transaction itself is the primary form of digital interaction.
And this is precisely the existential mandate for retailers. This is the takeaway. If they remain solely optimized for information display, beautiful product photos and persuasive marketing copy, rather than being structured for programmatic action with clear APIs and machine-readable data, they become functionally obsolete in this new action economy.
They just won't be seen.
They won't exist to the agent.
Okay, that's a perfect transition. To really understand this seismic shift into agentic AI, we have to delve into the technical capabilities that unlock that true autonomy you're talking about.
Right, and the sources define this really well. They call it the 4 pillars of agentic AI. These capabilities, working together, working in synergy, they create a fundamentally new type of digital entity that's capable of these complex end-to-end commerce workflows that were frankly impossible before without a human stepping in.
So let's lay out these 4 pillars for everyone. We can start with how the agent interacts with and interprets the digital world.
Okay, so first we have perception. And this is not the simple screen scraping that we saw in early automation. This is much more advanced.
What does that mean, advanced?
Perception is the agent's ability to read, interpret, and understand dynamic web content semantically. We're talking about interpreting real-time inventory databases, tracking micro-fluctuations in pricing across multiple platforms, and understanding the context of visual layouts all at the same time.
So it's not just reading the code of the website.
Not at all. It understands that the large blue rectangle on a dynamic website is the Add to Cart button, even if the underlying HTML tag changes from one day to the next. It perceives the intention and the context of the interface, just like a human would, but at machine speed.
So it's not just gathering data, it's understanding the data in a human-like contextual way. Okay, so what happens after the agent perceives the world? What's pillar number 2?
Second is reasoning. This is the core intelligence. You can think of it as the planning stage. It's what transforms a vague consumer desire into a structured, actionable project plan.
Give us an example.
The agent has these sophisticated planning capabilities to decompose complex, multi-objective goals. Let's use the example from the research. Plan a ski trip for under $2,000 for 3 people. The agent doesn't just search for ski trip deals.
Right, that's what I would do.
And that's the old way. The agent uses reasoning to break that single goal into a cascade of manageable, constrained subtasks. It does flight optimization based on preferred dates, then lodging negotiation considering proximity to the lifts and a minimum star rating, then lift ticket purchases and gear rental coordination. It builds a whole decision tree, allocating budget constraints to each segment of the trip.
That decomposition capability is the true marker of agency. It means it's acting less like a search engine and more like a digital project manager.
Precisely. And that leads to the third, And for commerce, the most critical pillar, tool use. This is the capability to execute and integrate.
This is where the action happens.
This is where the action happens. Tool use involves the seamless, secure integration with external APIs, the tools. This includes payment gateways, third-party booking systems, retailer inventory management software, logistics trackers, you name it. This pillar is what allows the agent to execute real-world transactions autonomously, making all that abstract reasoning tangible.
And this brings us back to the retailer's mandate that you mentioned earlier. If a merchant's API is slow, or poorly documented, or just non-existent,
Then the agent can't use the necessary tools to complete the purchase. The retailer is simply not accessible to the agent. It's a dead end.
it's a wall.
It's a wall. And finally, the fourth pillar is memory. This is what provides persistence, personalization, and continuous learning.
So it gets smarter over time.
Exponentially smarter. Memory involves the persistent storage of every relevant detail. Your user preferences, past interactions, purchasing patterns, down to brand loyalty and color preferences, and a contextual understanding that improves with every single interaction. The agent learns that you always check a product's environmental rating first, or maybe that you favor delivery speed over a 5% discount, and it integrates that knowledge into every subsequent decision model it builds.
Okay, so those four pillars, perception, reasoning, tool use, and memory, they explain how agentic AI achieves its power. But to really understand the jump, let's look at the historical context that's laid out in the source's 3 waves of AI in retail evolution.
Yeah, this framing is essential for contextualizing just how dramatic the shift from Wave 2 to Wave 3 really is. Wave 1, which roughly spans 2010 to 2022, was the era of predictive AI.
The recommendation engine.
Exactly. Its function was largely limited to behind-the-scenes analysis. Recommendation engines that suggested customers who bought X also bought Y, or demand forecasting that helped companies manage their inventory. The key limitation was that it was entirely passive. It could predict, but it could never execute. The human had to initiate all the action.
Then came the explosion of Wave 2, the generative AI era from 2022 to 2024. This brought the interface revolution. Automated product descriptions, personalized email copy, and conversational search interfaces that felt, truly intelligent.
Wave 2 was all about content and communication. Its critical limitation, though, was a lack of execution capability and a tendency toward what we call hallucinations. It could write incredibly compelling marketing copy, but it couldn't reliably purchase the product or manage the logistics or know the true, verifiable, real-time status of the physical world.
It suggested it talked, but it didn't do.
Exactly. So Wave 3, Agentic AI, from 2025 to the present, is the integration point. It takes the intelligence of Wave 2, that reasoning capability, and combines it with the operational capability of the 4 pillars we just discussed. This is the shift where the browser, the wallet, and the decision maker all unify into a seamless, autonomous system capable of those end-to-end commerce workflows.
Let's make this even more concrete. You mentioned an underlying architecture. Can you walk us through the steps an agent takes when it gets a command?
Absolutely. To solidify this, let's quickly detail the 6 key steps of an agent's typical purchase workflow. This really shows the listener what's happening behind the digital curtain when they delegate a task. It illustrates the complexity.
Let's pull back that curtain.
Okay, step 1 is goal interpretation. This is converting the user's natural language intention, something like, find the best high-rated noise-canceling headphones under $300 that can arrive before Friday, into a precise, structured computational goal. It has explicit, defined parameters and time constraints.
Step 2 is multi-source discovery.
Right. Once the goal is structured, the agent queries multiple data environments simultaneously. We're talking retailer APIs, price aggregators, logistics providers, and verified third-party review databases. This is real-time, machine-speed competitive research that builds a massive, comprehensive set of options in seconds.
So it's not just checking 1 or 2 stores, it's checking everything.
Everything, all at once. Step 3 is constraint evaluation. The agent then filters and prunes that massive option set against all the known parameters and the user preferences stored in its memory. This includes budget limits, required delivery timelines, minimum quality ratings, and even known negative historical satisfaction data.
What does that mean, negative historical data?
For example, it could filter out a retailer that you had a bad experience returning a product to 6 months ago. It remembers that friction and avoids it.
Wow. Okay, and then step 4, this is where the real magic happens. Optimization reasoning.
Exactly. This is where the agent moves beyond simple filtering. It balances competing factors using a weighted scoring model that's tailored to you, the individual user. For instance, If the agent knows from its memory that you prioritize brand trust 3 times more than the absolute lowest price for electronics, the optimization model applies those weights.
So it moves the final selection away from just the cheapest option.
Precisely. It moves toward the optimal blend of value, quality, and trust that's unique to you. It solves that multi-objective problem instantly.
And that level of personalized trade-off analysis is something humans do, but we do it imperfectly and slowly. The agent executes with perfect consistency every time.
Right. And then step 5 is transaction execution. Once the optimal choice is identified through that weighted model, the agent autonomously executes the purchase via secure API calls. It manages complex authentication, payment processing, confirmation workflows, and it does it all with machine-level consistency. No more human errors like typos in delivery addresses or missing a coupon code.
And finally, that critical feedback loop.
Step 6, continuous learning. This is what closes the loop. The agent tracks the outcome delivery speed, product reliability, ease of setup, and any explicit user satisfaction feedback you provide. This data refines the agent's internal models, ensuring that the selection criteria for the next purchase are even more accurate and personalized. The agent gets better with every single transaction it executes for you.
That technical depth is crucial because that architecture only matters if the market actually adopts it. So let's pivot now and look at where this technology is already making money and, frankly, destroying old business models. We are talking about the cussabot economy, which is driven by the sheer economics of delegation. The data points here show an acceleration that is. It's truly staggering.
The transition isn't just theoretical anymore, it's operationalizing across both enterprise and consumer domains at the same time. And the market research from the DX Today document reveals this fundamental shift in where transactions actually originate.
Okay, let's anchor this with the raw data. First, the enterprise acceleration. Gartner projects that a phenomenal 40% of enterprise applications will include task-specific AI agents by the end of 2026.
And just think about that. That is a massive leap from the less than 5% penetration we saw in early 2024. That shows an explosive acceleration of trust and integration in the professional buying world.
And the scale of the commerce impact is not limited to niche markets, right?
Not at all. Agentic AI is projected to influence a staggering $2.1 trillion in global e-commerce spending. This isn't just about optimizing low-stakes purchases anymore. This volume indicates deep integration into high-value, complex transactions all across the globe.
And critically, the consumer willingness is already there. The research suggests 73% of consumers express interest in using AI agents for routine, low-stakes purchases.
Which just shows that the market demand for time savings, for perfect optimization, and for the elimination of that tedious friction we talked about earlier is absolutely enormous.
So this confluence of enterprise adoption, massive financial influence, and consumer willingness means that you, the listener, you have to fundamentally accept that the primary customer of the future is an algorithm acting on behalf of the end user.
And that forces what the research calls the agentic storefront revolution.
And this is where legacy retailers have an existential problem. They spend decades and vast amounts of capital optimizing their storefronts for the traditional model, optimizing for human eyeballs.
Right. That meant perfecting traditional Google SEO, investing in social media advertising, and designing these beautiful but static visual interfaces that were meant to capture human attention and encourage the click.
The game has changed entirely.
Completely. They are now moving into the agentic future, which means brands have to optimize primarily for agent discovery. The human visual experience risks becoming secondary to programmatic discoverability.
The implication here is profoundly concerning for any retailer relying on the old methods. If a sophisticated AI agent, whether it's the Open Web Explorer operator or Amazon's internal Rufus, if it can't easily parse a retailer's product catalog or negotiate terms programmatically or execute a transaction via performant API,
then that retailer becomes functionally invisible in the agentic economy.
invisibility is the risk of inaction.
That's the phrase. A retailer might have the world's best product and the lowest price, but if their data is not structured for machine consumption, their product does not exist to the machine customer. This seismic change requires a complete paradigm shift in digital discoverability, what the sources are calling agent optimization, or AO, the new SEO.
Let's detail that radical divergence between the old and the new. Traditional SEO, it focused on persuasive content keyword density, acquiring backlinks, optimizing titles, all designed to rank highly on a human search engine results page.
Agent optimization throws out that playbook. It throws out the playbook focused on persuasion and replaces it with one focused on perfect data integrity and accessibility. AO requires a fundamental architectural overhaul. The new fundamentals are non-negotiable.
Okay, lay them out for us.
First, mandatory structured data schemas, specifically JSON LD markup. This is machine-readable markup that clearly and unambiguously defines what a product is, its specifications, its pricing, its inventory availability, and its terms of service. An agent can ingest this data perfectly, whereas it might struggle to parse the same information presented in human-readable prose on a dynamic web page.
So you're saying the agent should be able to read the data perfectly without ever having to render the web page itself.
Precisely. Second, API accessibility and documentation. The entire product catalog, real-time inventory levels, dynamic pricing, and all transaction capabilities must be exposed through robust, high-performance, and perfectly documented APIs. If the agent can't query the price instantly and reliably, the retailer is out.
Done.
Third, machine-readable product attributes. Beyond just the basic schema, attributes have to be quantified and standardized. A human might accept a description like high-quality leather, but an agent needs to read leather type, full grain, source, Italy, verified environmental rating, A+. This level of specificity is what allows the optimization reasoning to function perfectly.
So it's about facts, not fluff.
Exactly. Fourth, programmatic transaction workflows. The ability for the agent to autonomously execute a purchase via API calls is non-negotiable. This means authentication, payment, and confirmation must all be machine-to-machine functions, eliminating the need for a human to type in a credit card number or, God forbid, Sol a cap J.
This is the critical takeaway for any organization trying to survive this shift. Retailers have to think less like marketers trying to persuade a person with catchy slogans and flashing graphics, and more like API providers ensuring seamless programmatic integration for machines to shop.
Your product data quality is now your competitive ranking signal, and it's overriding traditional marketing spend.
Okay, so when we talk about these agents operating on the web, trying to find the best deal based on that perfect structured data, we have to examine the two dominant forces that are currently building these platforms.
Right, the big players.
Let's start with the open web approach, which is represented by OpenAI's Operator platform. This was a significant commercial release in early 2025.
Operator is a crucial strategic move because it is designed specifically for cross-platform autonomy. Its mandate is to search the entire open web, not just a single store, to execute complex transactions. It's designed to navigate these retail environments that were originally built only for humans.
And what gives Operator the capability to navigate those human-designed sites so effectively?
It leverages sophisticated multimodal AI for visual understanding of web interfaces. It interacts with the web like a human would, visually understanding the layout and function of elements.
So it can see the page.
It can see the page. This allows it to excel at crucial friction points like automated form filling and complex multi-step checkout processes, multi-site price comparison, and crucially, relentless algorithmic deal hunting and coupon application across dozens of coupon sites simultaneously. It can orchestrate a multi-step purchase that involves an airline, a hotel, and a car rental from 3 completely different vendors.
That technical innovation that allows it to browse the web like a human, but infinitely faster and more resilient, that's key.
Tell us more about the Computer Use API technology, the CUA.
CUA technology is the real differentiator here. Traditional automation often relied on brittle web scraping. If a developer changed the ID tag of a button, the whole script would break.
Right, I've seen that happen. CUA operates differently. It leverages advanced computer vision and machine learning models to see the page the way a browser renders it, so it understands the semantic intent. It knows that the text inside the rounded blue box next to the price is functionally the Buy Now button, regardless of what the underlying code actually calls it. This resilience is what allows Operator to maintain continuous session management and operate effectively in these dynamic environments.
And that resilience is what separates a frustrating bot from a true autonomous agent. It can handle those inevitable edge cases, the product going out of stock mid-checkout, a payment gateway failing, or finding a suitable substitution automatically.
That's right. Resilience is the cornerstone of trust. It means the agent is capable of persistent action. If the ideal product is unavailable, it automatically identifies logical substitutes based on the structured attributes we just discussed, or it can retry the workflow with an alternative payment method without human intervention. It keeps working until the goal is achieved or a failure is reported with a clear explanation.
Okay, so that's the open web model. Now let's pivot to the response from the retail giant, Amazon's Rufus.
Rufus serves as Amazon's powerful internal agent, but its initial focus is very sharply defined. Conversational commerce and product discovery almost exclusively within the Amazon ecosystem.
It's the definition of a walled garden approach.
A classic walled garden. But its advantages inside that wall are substantial, leveraging Amazon's incredible scale and infrastructure.
So what are those advantages?
Well, Rufus benefits from a deep integration with Alexa, which enables seamless voice-first delegation. Users can initiate entire purchase workflows through natural conversation while they're multitasking. And crucially, it leverages Amazon's immense multi-decade purchase history data and their control over fulfillment logistics.
That data advantage has to be enormous.
It is. It allows for hyper-personalized, ultra-reliable recommendations that improve with every single interaction, which makes the experience incredibly low friction for the user.
So we have a clear strategic difference here that really defines the competitive landscape. Operator focuses on cross-platform autonomy, the open approach, trying to find the objectively best deal anywhere on the web. And Rufus focuses on the proprietary ecosystem, the closed approach, trying to create the most seamless experience by keeping the transaction entirely within Amazon.
And that contrast defines the strategic tension in the market. Amazon's advantage is control and integration. They own the discovery, the payment, the logistics, and the last-mile delivery. The result is an exceptionally low-friction agent experience.
Why?
But that proprietary control creates a powerful dependency. If Rufus only ever searches Amazon, is it truly optimizing for you, the consumer, or is it optimizing for Amazon's ecosystem? This is why regulatory concerns about vendor favoritism are immediately raised by this kind of model.
It's the age-old question of convenience versus choice, now just automated at a massive scale. The agent ecosystem itself is becoming a strategic battleground. The technology, as we can see with Operator and Rufus, is clearly accelerating. But adoption, as the sources always note, is paced not by technical capability, but by psychological acceptance.
Right.
This is the delegation dilemma and the trust gap. Consumers have these deeply ingrained habits of manual control, especially over their money, that have to be overcome.
That trust gap is the single greatest non-technical barrier to mass adoption. Consumers have to develop comfort with algorithmic decision-making, particularly for purchases they perceive as consequential or high value. And this trust must be explicitly earned through demonstrated reliability over and over again.
Let's analyze the comfort level data that was provided in the sources because it paints a really clear picture of user hesitation. Where are people willing to start delegating?
Okay, so the majority, a solid 67%, are comfortable with delegating low-stakes, routine purchases. This includes things like reordering household staples like paper towels, managing utility subscriptions, or finding the cheapest local gas station.
Low risk.
Exactly. These tasks are low cost, they're annoying to do manually, and crucially, they're easily reversible if the agent makes a minor mistake.
But that comfort level drops off a cliff as complexity rises.
It drops precipitously. Only 34% are open to complex tasks. The examples cited in the research include multi-step vacation planning or electronics purchases that exceed a $500 threshold. These tasks require the agent to manage multiple vendors, spend significant capital, and they require high levels of that reasoning and tool use reliability we talked about.
And true broad autonomy. Just delegating the agent to make purchasing decisions across all categories with minimal human oversight, that's still very niche.
It is. Just 12% are willing to grant that kind of full delegation. The path to trust is clearly iterative. Users start with these low-stakes experiments. If the agent flawlessly reorders your coffee and cancels that unused streaming service, then you might expand the delegation boundary to booking a domestic flight.
And if it handles that flawlessly,
Then perhaps you trust it with a more complex, high-value electronics purchase. But a single significant failure, a major purchase error, or a missed critical constraint can shatter that trust entirely, triggering a complete withdrawal of delegation authority. Reliability for the agent has to be near 100%.
but even achieving technical perfection doesn't solve the second major hurdle, the privacy paradox. To deliver perfect optimization and convenience, these agents require truly unprecedented access to our personal information.
And the data requirements for optimal agent performance are highly sensitive and require complete transparency from the platforms. For an agent to function as a truly intelligent purchasing assistant, it needs not just your credit card number, but deep contextual knowledge.
Like what?
Like a complete historical analysis of every purchase you've ever made, detailed payment credentials and preferred methods, your household composition and specific needs like allergies, priorities or pet preferences, precise budget constraints and spending thresholds, long-term brand loyalties, and complex, nuanced models of your quality versus price trade-off preferences.
Giving an opaque algorithm that level of control and insight over our lives, I mean, that understandably triggers massive anxiety among consumers. What are the core concerns that were noted in the research?
The primary fears are rooted in economic manipulation and security. These include legitimate concerns about surveillance capitalism, where every single purchasing signal is monetized, the increased data breach vulnerability due to centralized storage of these ultra-sensitive purchase profiles, and manipulation through hyper-targeting, where agents could be steered toward higher margin items that the consumer might not actually need.
And there's more, right?
Yes, the loss of purchase anonymity and fears of algorithmic bias are also prevalent. The idea that the agent might unknowingly discriminate against certain vendors or offer suboptimal deals based on your demographic profile.
So the tension is inherent. Consumers demand the incredible value and convenience of highly intelligent, personalized agent behavior, which maximizes their value. But they instinctively resist the level of data collection and profile centralization that enables that intelligence.
It's a core conflict between user interests and platform profitability.
And since centralized data collection is inherently profitable for the platforms, what technical or strategic solutions are mentioned in the sources to try and bridge that trust gap?
Well, the research points to some architectural solutions designed to give users more control and privacy assurance. These include things like federated learning architectures, where the agent's personalized training data remains local to your device rather than being aggregated centrally on a server somewhere.
So the data stays with you.
The data stays with you. There are also proposals for using differential privacy techniques, which add statistical noise to generalized datasets to protect individual records, and the development of highly transparent consent frameworks that clearly define how and when your data is used. But, until strong regulatory mandates push back on the economic incentives for centralized data, this privacy paradox is going to remain the single biggest non-technical hurdle slowing down mass adoption.
Okay, let's turn our attention back to the retailers and the brands who have to navigate this new economy. The rise of custobots is not just an opportunity for optimization, it's an existential threat because it fundamentally destabilizes nearly every existing e-commerce business model.
That's right. The power shifts dramatically from the merchant, who used to control the customer journey, to the consumer via their hyper-optimized agent.
And this rebalancing results in predictable and brutal economic pressures. We're talking extreme margin compression, significantly weakened marketing effectiveness, and existential risk for any business that relies on friction or imperfect information for its profit.
Let's discuss the first major impact, one that could destabilize entire sectors: advertising obsolescence. The $600 billion digital advertising industry is facing an existential threat because the agent doesn't care about human-targeted persuasive marketing.
That is the crucial point.
It is. Digital advertising is built on buying human attention and leveraging human behavioral bias. If purchase decisions are being made by an algorithm that prioritizes objective criteria, functional specifications, lowest net cost after negotiation, verified reliability, historical satisfaction, then the money spent on pervasive display ads, search ads, and social media campaigns simply stops generating a return on investment.
So brands that are accustomed to maximizing visibility through spend have to pivot.
They have to pivot to maximizing objective value through product superiority.
But wait a second, won't brands just build sophisticated relationships with the agent platforms themselves? Couldn't they pay Operator or Rufus for priority API access or to be a preferred supplier? Isn't that just a new form of advertising, trading banner ads for algorithmic prioritization?
That is an excellent challenge, and it really highlights the regulatory tightrope we'll discuss in a bit. And while some form of priority access will inevitably emerge, the agent's core value proposition to the consumer is objective optimization.
So it has to be trustworthy.
It has to be. If a platform consistently favors a paid partner over an objectively superior, cheaper option discovered on the open web, consumers will eventually switch to the agent that delivers the best results. The pressure is on the agents to maintain their perceived objectivity, which fundamentally limits the effectiveness of traditional persuasive advertising. The spend shifts from persuasion to data integrity and API access speed.
The second threat is brutal margin compression. Agents are perfect information machines.
They are. Agents operate with perfect price transparency and comparison capabilities across the entire digital marketplace simultaneously. This relentless optimization will drive fierce competition purely on price for commodity or near commodity items, pushing retail margins towards zero. And differentiation through branding becomes exponentially harder when the purchasing algorithm prioritizes specific functional specifications over subjective brand allegiance.
And traditional defenses designed to create switching costs, like loyalty programs, they're proving ineffective against agent optimization.
Right, that is the loyalty program disruption. Loyalty schemes that were designed to lock customers into an ecosystem with points, tiers, preferred status, they're easily arbitrated by agents. The agent instantly calculates the true transferable monetary value of those points and discounts across all competing merchants.
So it optimizes for net financial value.
Exactly, regardless of the retailer's attempt to create these artificial retention barriers. The agent switches seamlessly if a better deal is found somewhere else.
And finally, the ultimate danger for the middle layer, disintermediation risk. If you are just aggregating products, your days are numbered.
That's right. Retailers who merely aggregate products or serve as a basic digital storefront, they face displacement. Agents can source directly from manufacturers or specialized vertical APIs, effectively cutting out the middleman whose primary value was human curation and logistics management. When algorithms can evaluate millions of options instantly, the value of human curation diminishes dramatically.
The conclusion for businesses is clear. Adaptation is not optional. The sources outline 6 necessary strategic responses for retailers to pivot and survive in this agentic future.
The first and the most foundational is the API-first architecture. This has become the standard platform design. You have to rebuild all commerce platforms with agent access as the primary consumption interface.
So that means exposing everything.
Everything. Complete, clean catalogs, real-time inventory, dynamic pricing logic, and transaction capabilities through extremely performant, well-documented APIs. If your API is slow, you are already losing to the competitor whose API executes faster.
Okay, what's number 2?
The second shift is in capital allocation. Move investment from marketing spend toward tangible value over marketing. Meaning you shift that advertising investment into concrete improvements. You invest in superior product quality, maintain competitively aggressive and transparent pricing, and ensure ultra-reliable service. When the agent uses objective metrics for selection, fundamentals matter more than promotion.
This means the quality of your product data is now as critical as the quality of your physical product.
And that's the third point. Structured data excellence. Retailers must implement comprehensive schema markup and extremely rich, machine-readable specifications across every single one of their products. The inability of an agent to parse quality data creates an invisible competitive disadvantage because the agent can't accurately or confidently evaluate the offering compared to competitors who provide perfect data.
Okay, what's next?
Fourth, focus maniacally on frictionless fulfillment. This is the post-purchase experience. Optimize shipping speed, minimize errors, and ensure effortless, guaranteed return processes. Agent algorithms incorporate fulfillment quality and historical customer service ratings into their decision models. Operational excellence becomes a measurable competitive ranking signal.
And fifth, a crucial defense mechanism against full disintermediation is proprietary agent development.
Right. Retailers need to build their own specialized agents that are designed to guide customers through their product universe while maintaining strategic business objectives. This allows the retailer to participate actively in the agent ecosystem, balancing customer optimization with necessary brand relationships and maintaining some control over the customer journey.
And finally, strategic partnership.
Yes, strategic agent partnership programs. Develop relationships with the major agent platforms like Operator and Rufus. This might involve offering preferential API terms, giving early access to new inventory, or providing verified data streams to ensure significant transaction volume is directed through your channel, but it's conditional on your agent performance metrics meeting the platform's high standards.
We've established the structural shift. Now let's talk about the capabilities that truly generate value for the consumer and, well, a major headache for the retailer. We're talking about the capability that moves beyond simple comparison, the negotiation layer, or algorithmic bargaining.
Algorithmic bargaining is one of the most immediate margin-destroying capabilities of agentic AI. It moves commerce away from fixed pricing entirely and into a dynamic, personalized, context-dependent pricing environment.
So no more sticker price.
No more sticker price. When a buyer agent algorithm meets a retailer's dynamic pricing algorithm, the entire transaction becomes a continuous strategic negotiation game played in microsecond increments.
Walk us through the agent's iterative process here. How does a machine actually bargain on my behalf?
Okay, so the process starts with the agent performing rigorous price discovery to establish the baseline market price and the range of historical sales. It then performs what's called leverage assessment, determining how desperate the retailer might be, based on factors like inventory levels, time since listing, and competitor pricing flexibility, which it tracks in real time.
So it's looking for weakness.
It's looking for leverage. Next, it proceeds to an optimized offer submission. The agent, knowing your budget constraints and the retailer's likely price floor, submits a precise counteroffer, often slightly below the established floor, just to test the retailer's minimum willingness to accept.
And if that offer is rejected, it doesn't just give up and pay the asking price.
No, it moves to iterative refinement. Based on the retailer's response pattern, how quickly they respond, what discount they offer next, the agent refines its counteroffer. It might adjust its parameters slightly, like accepting a slower shipping speed for a lower price. This back and forth continues until a mutually acceptable price is reached, or the agent determines the retailer's pricing is just non-competitive.
This volatility forces retailers to develop exceptionally sophisticated, responsive, dynamic pricing systems just to keep pace.
They have to.
Beyond negotiation, the highest value for the consumer is generated in cross-platform orchestration. This is the agent acting as a true digital project manager, coordinating these complex, multi-vendor workflows that are currently impractical or just too tedious for humans to manage effectively.
And this capability is utilized for high-stakes, large-scale goals. Think planning a wedding, coordinating a complex home construction or kitchen remodel, or organizing a corporate event. Goals that require coordinating dozens of interdependent vendors.
So if I ask my agent to remodel my kitchen, what are the steps it takes?
First, the agent has to meticulously decompose the complex goal. It breaks the remodel down into constituent requirements: material sourcing, contractor labor scheduling, permit acquisition, financing management, all with specific quality standards.
Then it finds the people to do the work.
Right. It performs parallel vendor discovery across materials, suppliers, specialized labor, and municipal services simultaneously. Then it applies rigorous constraint optimization, ensuring all selections adhere to the global budget, specific timing milestones, and material quality standards. And the most valuable step is coordinated booking. The agent executes coordinated scheduling across multiple vendors, managing the interdependencies.
So it makes sure the permits are secured before the demolition crew is booked.
Exactly, and that the cabinets arrive precisely when the installation crew is scheduled. This cross-platform orchestration creates value that far exceeds simple price comparison. It replaces the role of human planners, consultants, and administrative assistants, saving hundreds of hours of manual coordination.
But the true killer app that will drive initial mass consumer adoption is far simpler: the subscription management revolution.
The subscription sprawl problem. That is a use case every single listener can immediately relate to.
Absolutely. The average household today maintains, 12 to 15 active subscriptions? It causes massive fatigue and hundreds of dollars annually in forgotten or unused services.
And Agentic AI excels at this because it's repetitive, it's rules-based, and it delivers immediate, quantifiable financial value. The agent solutions are comprehensive. It performs constant usage monitoring and utilization analysis. If you haven't logged into that new streaming service in 3 months, the agent flags it.
And then it can cancel it for you.
It handles the automatic cancellation of unused services, it finds optimal plan comparison and bundle optimization across providers, and it even conducts the negotiation of renewal terms to ensure you are always on the best available plan.
That demonstrable cost reduction is exactly what's needed to build consumer trust quickly, which can then be parlayed into delegation for more complex scenarios down the road. It pays for itself instantly.
And tying all this capability together is personalization at machine scale. Agents synthesize thousands of data points that no human concierge or previous recommendation system could ever match, delivering continuous, adaptive personalization.
Go on.
This includes deep integration of individual preferences like specific taste profiles, aesthetic sensibilities, known ethical priorities, and temporal patterns, so predicting purchases based on seasonal cycles or recurring annual events. It manages household dynamics, so the needs of multiple family members simultaneously. It has comprehensive budget intelligence, knowing your exact spending capacity and trade-off thresholds in real time. And deep context awareness, adjusting recommendations based on your location, the weather, or upcoming events.
So this continuous adaptation ensures the agent becomes exponentially more valuable the longer the relationship persists.
It makes the human interaction seem crude by comparison.
The power of these agents is undeniable, but the shift into this kind of algorithmic economic control raises critical ethical questions that have to be addressed proactively. As agents operate with full autonomy, they inherit and often amplify biases that are present in their training data.
And that could perpetuate discriminatory economic patterns. The research highlights several risks that require immediate strategic and regulatory attention. One primary concern is the potential for price discrimination.
How would that work?
Agents optimizing purely on data inputs like your location, your device type, or historical spending patterns might learn to segment users and accept higher prices for users identified in high-income zip codes, even for the same product. That would perpetuate economic inequity and discrimination. A second risk is product access inequity. If the agent's training data is heavily skewed toward dominant brands or majority market needs, the agent may systematically overlook products serving niche communities, whether based on cultural needs, accessibility, or specific health requirements. This failure to discover necessary products effectively renders them invisible to the end user.
And what about the risk of systematic favoritism? You touched on this with Rufus. It could convert objective optimization into just disguised preference.
That is vendor favoritism. Agents trained on data originating from platforms with financial partnerships or simply trained primarily on one platform's product selection may systematically favor those partners over objectively superior alternatives found on the open web. This risks converting the promise of objective best value into a disguised form of marketing bias.
And the final critical ethical concern is the transparency deficit.
Right. The complexity inherent in these deep neural networks means that the process of optimization reasoning, that step 4 we talked about, is often a black box. It becomes extremely difficult for users and for regulators to audit decisions or understand why a particular selection was made or why a specific price was accepted.
And that opacity complicates efforts to identify when bias has influenced an outcome.
It creates massive challenges for enforcing fair commerce standards. Mitigating these risks requires diverse training data, robust fairness constraints baked into the optimization models, and interfaces that provide clear, auditable explanations for complex agent decisions.
And this is where the pressure from ethical concerns is fundamentally shaping the regulatory landscape globally.
The environment is highly fluid and fragmented, forcing global platforms to anticipate a complex patchwork of restrictions. The sources identify 4 key mandates that are clearly emerging across major jurisdictions.
What's the first one?
First, the urgent need to extend consumer protection mandates. Regulators need to clarify liability. Who is responsible when an agent, acting autonomously, makes an unauthorized or a financially damaging purchase? They also have to define how cooling-off periods and rights of reversal apply to transactions conducted entirely by automated systems.
Okay.
Second, comprehensive data governance requirements are emerging, extending existing privacy frameworks like GDPR. This includes enforcing the right to explanation for automated decisions, mandating that the agent or the platform must be able to provide an auditable, understandable justification for why it chose a specific product or negotiated a specific price.
Third are anti-manipulation standards.
This is about creating guardrails against the potential for dark patterns that target not the human, but the agent itself. Algorithms designed to exploit the agent's decision-making process to steer it toward high-margin products, often against the user's explicit long-term preferences. And crucially, the mandate for interoperability requirements. This is a direct competitive mandate aimed at preventing monopolistic control. Jurisdictions are considering data portability rules that would allow users to easily and securely move their accumulated agent training data, their purchasing history, and their preferences between competing agent platforms.
So that prevents platform lock-in.
And it fosters competition based on agent performance rather than just data hoarding.
The ultimate shape of the custobot economy depends entirely on the regulatory choices being made right now. And the research outlines 3 distinct potential scenarios for the future market structure.
The first is Scenario 1, fragmented competition. This happens if regulators prioritize interoperability and consumer choice. Multiple agent platforms would compete vigorously on features, privacy protections, and auditability. Strong data portability standards would emerge, leading to high user choice and continuous innovation by merchants responding to specialized agent needs.
And the scary one.
Scenario 2, Platform dominance. This is the high-risk scenario. If the regulatory environment remains light touch, two or three major technology companies leveraging their existing data advantages, network effects, and control over payment rails could capture the majority of agentic commerce. This leads to massive monopolistic pressure on merchants, a loss of privacy, and significantly reduced consumer choice as the agents prioritize the ecosystem's benefit over the users.
And the third option.
Scenario 3. Regulatory equilibrium. This is the scenario where comprehensive government frameworks are adopted early and they mandate transparency, accountability, and fair algorithmic standards. Innovation would continue within clear protective guardrails, ensuring consumer rights and containing systemic risks, though compliance costs might slightly reduce the speed of market efficiency gains. The fight for which scenario prevails is happening right now in legislative bodies globally.
This has been an extensive deep dive into the machine customer revolution. The structural changes are immense, and the speed of adoption is accelerating. Let's quickly recap the four most critical takeaways for you, the listener.
Okay, number 1. Agentic AI represents a fundamental structural shift, not an incremental technology upgrade. It moves the entire foundation of commerce from content generation to autonomous action and execution.
Number 2. The primary customer of the future is algorithmic. Retailers must urgently pivot to agent optimization, designing their systems to be machine-readable via structured data rather than optimizing solely for human attention.
Number 3. API-first architecture is no longer a technical suggestion. It is now absolutely business-critical infrastructure. In the agentic economy, invisibility, the inability of an agent to access your inventory, is the functional risk of inaction.
And number 4, trust and privacy concerns, particularly around data access and algorithmic bias, will determine the pace of widespread adoption far more than technical capability. Building trustworthy systems is the key to market success.
So, based on the implementation roadmap, what should businesses and consumers be thinking about right now? Well, businesses need to immediately audit their legacy systems for agent readiness, develop comprehensive API strategies, and understand that structural data excellence is now a core competitive function.
And for you, the consumer, your immediate action is to understand the profound trade-offs inherent in delegation. Start experimenting with low-stakes purchases. Understand the data requirements involved and the data you are consenting to share, because the transformation is happening now. Platforms like Operator and Rufus are processing millions of transactions, and their algorithms are learning at an exponential rate.
The critical question isn't whether agentic AI will reshape commerce. That is already a certainty. But if your organization will lead, follow, or risk being locked out of the future of shopping entirely. The path chosen by enterprises and regulators in 2026 will determine competitive positioning and economic reality for the next decade. Think about what you delegate today, because tomorrow the machine will ask for more.